Good morning. Am I audible? Okay, so let us start. This is that 2017 paper. There were total of 24 questions in this paper. Okay, I have already given you the rights. It's almost 9:35 right now, so you have 1 hour. 10:35 we will start the discussion. Right? Please start. Okay, time is up. That is sufficient time for the 24 questions. Now, one by one, let's check what we have done. The first two questions are para jumbles, and I think they were not very difficult. For question number one, I think the answer should be B. Okay, answer should be B. Why? Because the first thing you will say is that you will describe this range. You will tell me the name of this range, and the name of this range is the Caucasus range. Okay, this Caucasus range, it has throughout history held Russians in fear and awe. This range. Now it is here in this range, which is between the Black and the Caspian Seas. Now you are giving me the location of the Caucasus Range. Between the Black and Caspian Seas, there is a land bridge where Europe gradually vanishes amid a 600-mile chain of mountains as high as 18,000 feet. Then you will tell me that this whatever we are talking about, this place is actually Russia's Wild West. Okay, so 2-3-1 order has to be there. 2-3-1 order has to be there. That is why answer for this question is number two. If you have a doubt, please ask. Question number two. Question number two. I think you will have to start with one. First, you need to tell me the periodic table. What does it do? It orders elements in a way which help you understand why atoms behave as they do. Now, an explanation of why the atoms behave as they do is in number four. What makes fluorine react violently with cesium, while its nearest neighbor, neon, is reluctant to react with anything? So, why is it that one element behaves in a certain way and the other does not behave in a certain way? Okay, number E is not right. Number E is not right. Answer for this question should be B. 1432. 1432, because 4 and 3 will have to come together, which is also here. But please understand that this behavior pattern you're talking about is mentioned in number one. Number one is generalized. It talks about elements as a whole, whereas number four gives you illustrations of the elements. That is why one has to come before four. Okay. So for question number two, also the answer is B. Question number three. Question number three, he says, fragrant with steam were the days and the nights red, with many braziers in the beloved house of my father, my mother. So he remembers the days when he was in the father's and mother's house, and because of father's and mother's love, he remembers these days. Now these days, he actually something is being cooked. Braziers are nothing but that live tandoor kind of things. So there's he remembers all this. He remembers these days. So what do you think? Which is the closest expression of the poet's feelings? I think yes, everything about the house felt special because of her parents' love for her. Okay, absolutely. He's not trying to tell us what was the most important house in the community. He's not talking about the location of the house. He's not talking about the climate. And he's not just talking about the brazier and the steam, he's talking about the love that he felt. So it is E for question number three. Number four. Now the current trend indicates that food and vegetable inflation will continue to be pain points. Food inflation has risen from 7.47 to 7.79. Vegetable inflation also is 14.74 now. In the weeks ahead, the volatile food inflation will determine the course of overall inflation. Okay? So, food inflation, it is food inflation which determines the overall inflation. For the RBI also, this trend is a concern because if it exceeds 11%, if inflation exceeds 11%, it will have to explain to the government why it could not be contained. So upper limit is 11%, lower and it should not decrease beyond 2%. Lower limit is 2%. Now, of the given options, which of the following options is the most appropriate? What do you think? Number D, you are saying number D, the first paragraph highlights inflation conditions and the second hints at RBI's inefficiency. As of now, RBI is not inefficient because the inflation has not exceeded it. Overall inflation has not exceeded 11%. So D is not right. Okay. It is a concern. This trend is a concern because the inflation can exceed 11%. As of now, it has not exceeded 11%. So we can't say that RBI is inefficient. Number A, the first paragraph states a cause and the second is the effect. Of course not. Number second paragraph is not telling you why inflation is happening. So A also is not right. Answer for this question is B. The first paragraph provides you information and the second will highlight potential application of that information. Now, who is going to apply this information? This information is going to apply by RBI. When RBI has this information about inflation trends, then it can make policy adjustments. It can apply that information so as to contain the information within 11%. Answer for this question should be B. Did you understand? Okay. Okay, Nikita, the remedy is not mentioned. The remedy is not mentioned. Okay. So he's not asking about he's not saying that there's a remedy. You can apply this information to find the remedy, Nikita. Okay. RBI can apply this information, this trend, inflation trend. This is an information for RBI, and it can use this information to make policies so that the inflation does not exceed 11%. So it can apply this information, isn't it? Okay. Coming to question number, yes, Nikita. Can't we say that the trend inflation is the cause? Okay. So inflation is the cause. So what effect does it lead to? What effect does it lead to? That the RBI will have to answer the government, but that is only when the inflation exceeds 11%. If it does not exceed 11%, then RBI is not answerable. Okay, so it is not a definite effect. It may be. I mean, if it exceeds 11%, then RBI will have to provide explanation to the government. If it does not, then it would not have to apply to provide explanation to the government. So you can't say that it definitely illustrates the effect. Okay. Question number five. I think in comparison to other years, this year this paper was easier. Is that 2017? It was slightly easier. Number five, fill in the blanks. There are three blanks. The serious study of popular films by critics is regularly credited with having rendered obsolete a once dominant view that popular mainstream films are inherently inferior to art films. So these days, Popular films are being seriously studied. That means the earlier view that means popular films are inferior to art films, that view has become obsolete because now, uh, because now what is happening? People are seriously studying popular films. Even though this is happening, yet now here there's a change. Yet the change of attitude may be somewhat dash. So out of the options, the first option for the first blank is overstated. Yes, the change is somewhat overstated. Why it is overstated? Because although it is now academically respectable to analyze popular films, the fact that many critics feel compelled to rationalize their dash action movies. That means even now critics, if they like, I think it should be penchant for or penchant for, if they like action movies, they have to rationalize it. Till date, they have to rationalize it. Rationalize it. They cannot simply say that we like an action movie or a mass market movie. They have to provide reasons why they like it, and because they have to provide reasons, then reveals this reveals that they are continually invested. I think the third blank is investment. They are still invested in the old hierarchy of popular and art films. That means there still remains some kind of there still remains the iota of the earlier belief that art films are superior to mass produced films. I think answer for this question should be uh, 346, which means option number C. Please take a look. Anybody has any doubt? Okay. Explain B. Explain B. Number overstated is all right, but in the second blank, not appreciated. Nikita, in the second blank, you want not appreciated. Although it is now academically respectable to analyze popular films, the fact that many critics feel compelled to rationalize their own their own not appreciated action movies will not make sense. So you cannot have B. Answer has to be C. Okay. Let's come to question number six then. If this is all, anybody has any doubt till now? Question number one to five. Number six, read the stanza and answer the question that follows. He's telling you that invisible atoms come together, they reveal themselves in visible forms. Seeds, seeds are just like invisible things, but seeds are hugged by the earth. And how do you see the seeds? You see them in the form of gardens in bloom. Similarly, when you look at the yonder stars, yonder means the stars that are far away. They are just like pearls that are floating on the seas. Scattered, they are scattered, yet they are strung together in orderly constellations. Something is holding them, something is binding them. Now, the question is it love which is binding them to one another and each is perpetually seeking its like? So, there is something which brings together every these things. Okay, so something is binding them. So, which of the following options will capture the spirit of the above stanza? Tell me. This is so simple. Number D to hai nahi hai. There is no religious difference. There is no religious difference, Damini. In fact, he's asking us. There's a question here: is love binding you? Because everything is coming together. Answer is E. Answer for this question is E. Okay. Number seven. Question number seven. Which of the following options is grammatically correct and meaningful? What do you think? Not only but also, not only but also. I think A is right. Number C is not right. I want to join an MBA college that is not only the best in the country, but also best in job. But also best in job. No. The college is not best in job. The college is best in providing a job. So number C is not right. Okay, Nikita? Number E. I want to join an MBA college that I found not only best in the country, but also I can get good job. So I is common. I found not only best in the country, but also, so you cannot have both two eyes over here. You cannot have two eyes because I found is common. E is not right. Same thing happens. I want to join an MBA college that is not only good, but also I can get good job. Again, this is wrong. I want to join an MBA college that is not only the best in the country, but also I can get good job. Again, but also I can get good job does not make sense. It's not only the best in the country, but also provides a good job. That would have been better. In A, he should use that. No, not only the best in the country. That is common. The word that is common. That is not only X but also Y. Okay, not only X but also Y. So no, that is required. Question number 7. Answer is A. Question number 8. Question number 8. Read the following passage and answer the question that follows. Now there is a company called uh, Herbalife. Now, this company agreed to pay the US Federal Trade Commission $200 million fine. Okay, they were actually indicted on a fraud uh, um, because the commission said that Herbalife had cheated people out of money, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. So this company has agreed to pay a fine. When the company agreed to pay the fine, immediately the stock of the company, there was a 15% increase following the above news. Okay, the question is, which of the following options would imply that the 15% increase in stock price is fair? Which of the following will prove that 15% increase is fair? Yes, number D. The moment you acknowledge that you have done something wrong, that increases the stock price of your companies. So it is but fair that because Herbalife has acknowledged deceit, their share prices should increase. Absolutely. It should be D. Okay. Number B, Nikita. When fraudulent companies are exposed, their stock prices increases. But is this fair? When we come to know that a company has done fraud, should its share prices increase? No, that is not fair. It should not increase. But yes, if the same company, if it accepts that yes, I have done something wrong, it is ready to pay the fine, then that can be fair reason. Then you can then the belief that you'll have is that okay, this company is being ethical. It's fair. We need to give them a second opportunity. They may have made a mistake. That is why for question number 8, answer is D. Number 9. He tells you worldwide tomato is one of the most important crops. Now this crop can be adapted for cultivation in various environments which range from tropical to alpine regions. Because of this, the cultivation area is expanding worldwide. And tomato is being cultivated even in those regions that are not so productive. Okay. On the other hand, traditional cultivation areas, that means which are most favorable for tomato cultivation with warm and dry climates, the traditional cultivation areas are contracting. Every year, traditional cultivation area loses 2 million hectares of land to environmental factors such as salinity, drought, and soil erosion. If this information is true, which of the correct inferences can be made based on this passage? What do you think? What do you think? E. No. Number C. In recent years, per hectare production of tomato has decreased worldwide. Why? Because what is happening is even though the area is expanding, earlier the area was just this much. The area has expanded, but these areas are those areas that are not so productive, not so productive. Even though on the whole production of tomato has increased, but when you look at the per hectare production, earlier what used to happen, in 1 hectare you used to get, let's say, 10,000 tons. Now in 1 hectare you will get 2,000 tons. So even though number of hectares have increased, but the per hectare production has decreased, because he has already told you that traditional cultivation areas where you get per hectare production of very high production of tomato, that is contracting year on year. So this means that even though overall production may have increased, per hectare production has decreased worldwide. It has not remained the same. No, it has not remained the same. It is not total production, it is per hectare production. Remember, total production may have increased. Are you getting this? Total production may have increased, but per unit अगर देखोगे, it has decreased. So answer is C for question number 9. I think this one was easy. Is this clear? Should I move to the next question? How is this confusing? How is this confusing? Okay, let me just explain this to you. So simple. It is so simple. Okay, earlier what used to happen, for example, 100 hectare used to be there, and each hectare used to give you 1000 kgs, for example. So total kitna hota tha? 1000 into 100 is going to be how much? Tell me. 100,000. Okay, 100,000. Right now, today, now 100,000. So every hectare is giving you 1000 kgs each. Now today, what is happening? Today, the total cultivation is 500 hectares. Cultivation increased over 5 times, but every hectare is giving you 200 kgs, or let's say 100 kgs, 150 kgs, 200 भी रख लो. Even if you keep 200, okay. So even though see, the total remains the same. Even though total remains the same, your total production remains the same. But if you look at per unit, earlier 1 unit used to give you 1000 kgs, now 1 unit is giving you 200 kgs. So per unit it has decreased, yes or no? Even though the total production has, even though the total production has remained the same. Or if I make this 300 kgs, if I make this 300 kgs per hectare, then you will say, oh, total production has increased. Now the total production is 150,000 kgs. Even though that the total production has increased, but per unit has decreased from 1000 to 3000. Why has this happened? Because earlier these 100 hectares were most productive. They were very productive areas, but now in these 500 hectares, you also have not so productive areas. You are cultivating it everywhere, and everywhere it is not productive, even though it's being cultivated worldwide. So per hectare production has decreased. All right. Now is it clear? Okay, let's come to question number 10. Carefully read the statements. Which of the following is or are correct in grammar and meaning? Chatterjee loves books, semicolon. Therefore, he reads them all the time. Correct. When you have a semicolon, remember, then whatever comes before the semicolon and whatever comes after the semicolon, they have to be independent sentences. They are related, but they have to be independent sentences. They have to stand alone. So I think both can stand alone as sentences. Correct. Number two, Chatterjee loves books. Full stop. Therefore, he reads them all the time. Correct. After that, therefore, there's a comma, and therefore is more like it. Thus. Correct. Chatterjee loves books and comma therefore. Now therefore, because I am treating it as a transition word, so that is why I put a comma. And therefore, he reads them all the time. Correct. So all three are right, which means answer is E for question number 10. Okay. And comma therefore. Now therefore is a transition word. Therefore is a transition word. Yes or no? Why comma after and comma therefore, because it's a pause. It's a pause. As a consequence, so as a consequence, therefore means as a consequence. Now as a consequence is another thought. It is another thought. You were talking about Chatterjee loving books and you are mentioning it in some other ways. Okay, we can use comma after and. Yes, obviously, Nikita, there's a huge difference. Okay, X, Y, and Z are not available. Okay, now see, X, Y, comma, and Z are not available. Now see what has happened. Over here, before the and I have not used a comma. Okay, before the and there's no comma. So it would seem that here these are one. It would seem that this is one and this is the Y and Z are the same. But if my intention is to talk about three, then I should put a comma before and. Okay, so I think Chatterjee's you use and. Okay, okay. Chatterjee loves books and and this is the same thing. Thus, as a consequence, you want to say as a consequence and comma as a consequence. Why is as a consequence? As a consequence is again a side remark. It is something you have introduced. It is just a side remark, and that is why it requires a comma. You have to separate it. So all three are correct. Okay. Grotesque is related to macabre in a similar way as what do you think? Grotesque and macabre both mean deadly. Okay, both mean deadly. They are actually synonyms. They mean deadly related to death, deadly, horrifying. Yes, answer is D. Sorcery and necromancy. Sorcery is black magic, and necromancy is also black magic connected with dead people. So necromancy, NEC is the root for kill. So necromancy is when you talk to the people who have been killed. That means dead people. Okay, you talk to the dead people. You that is what is black magic. So they are synonyms. Just like grotesque and macabre are synonyms. Grotesque and macabre means horrifying, you know, horrendous, horrifying. Now, others are not synonyms. Classics is not a synonym of ruins. Classics are those books that were written earlier. They are not ruins. History is related to paleontology. Paleontology is study of fossils. Okay, study of fossils. So in history, we don't just study fossils. In fact, fossils is studied more in zoology. In history, we actually don't study fossils. We study events. Marriage and funeral are antonyms. Science is any branch of knowledge, and thanatology is study of death. So thanatology is one of the branches of science. So they are not synonyms. That is why answer for question number 11 is D. Is this all right? Is this clear for all of you? Coming to question number 12. Over here, choose the option with all the correct words. The suspension of the captain may affect. The suspension of the captain may affect the number of spectators who turn up for this match. Transportation costs will directly affect. Again, you need affect. AFFECT. It will affect the cost of retail goods. Grandmother's advancing age could affect. Again, it can impact her ability to take care of the house. She affected. Affected means pretended. Remember, we have discussed this word. She affected a Texan accent throughout the interview. So she pretended to have a Texan accent, which means answer is C. Answer for this question is C. Yes, I think you also marked C. Okay, now we come to question number 13. Now, question number 13 to 15 in this passage, he is telling you that it has taken me 60 years, but I have had an epiphany. What is an epiphany? Epiphany is manifestation of truth. Epiphany is when you understand something finally, when you understand the truth finally. Initially, it may have not struck you, but now you understand something finally. Okay, that is epiphany. Now he's telling you that I am probably 60 years old, but one thing I understand is that everything without exception requires additional energy and order to maintain itself. Everything requires maintenance. Earlier, we used to think that only material things require maintenance. We used to think that, you know, that things that are made of stone and iron and copper and gravel, and they would not last very long. But what is surprising is that even intangible things require maintenance. Even they become unstable. If if something which is tangible, like a pump, if it breaks down, it is understandable. Why? Because we all know that moisture rusts metal, air oxidizes membranes, lubricants evaporate. All these things we know. But how can non-material things degrade? That is very surprising. Even non-material things require upgrade. You will have to keep maintaining it. Because you will see brand new computers ossify. You will see apps will weaken. Codes will corrode. Fresh software will begin to fray. And all this will happen on their own. Nothing that you did. In fact, the more complex the thing it is, the more maintenance it requires. So he tells you this is the changing digital landscape. Everything around you is upgrading, and this puts a pressure on your digital system. It necessitates maintenance. Okay, there is an upgrades arms race. If you don't upgrade it, then what happens? Because if you don't upgrade it, so itna zyada, eventually the upgrade will reach dramatic proportions. So you'll have to upgrade every now and then. You cannot be left behind. And once you upgrade something, Upgrade something and suddenly you need to upgrade something else, which will trigger upgrades everywhere. So you can't keep putting it off. You can't keep putting it off. Continual upgrades are so critical for technological systems that they have now become automatic for most of the personal computers. Okay, that means it is always in the state of becoming. Becoming means it is always evolving. It is always changing, always evolving, always changing. We take this evolution as normal. This is something which happens normally. There is nothing surprising. And then he tells you that technological life in the future will be nothing but a series of endless upgrades. And the rate of graduations is accelerating. No matter how long you have been using a tool, in the end, you will turn up to be a newbie. You will be a newbie forever. Why? Why will you be a newbie forever? Because most of the important technologies that will be used 30 years from now, they have not been invented. So naturally, you will be a newbie to them. Second, because the new technology will require endless upgrades, you will remain in the newbie state. Third, because the cycle of obsolescence is accelerating, you won't have time to master anything before it is displaced. So you will remain in the newbie mode forever. So endless newbie is the new default for everyone, no matter your age or experience. So you will have to keep maintaining it. You have to keep maintaining it, and it will keep changing. It will keep changing. It will keep changing. That is what he's trying to say. Passage is very simple. Okay, passage is very simple. Based on this passage, what do you think? Answer for 13. Which of the following statements will the author agree with the most? What will the author agree? I think number C. He will agree that upgradation is no longer an option, but it is an obligation. You cannot put it off. Absolutely. Is this clear? This is very simple. Number 14. Which of the following quotes would the author agree with the most? I think answer should be A. A. Life is like riding a bicycle. Now, life is like riding a bicycle. That means that life is always changing. This is mentioned in B also. But B just mentions that things have always changed. So it is just one part of the passage. How will you adapt to this change that is not mentioned in B? That is why B is not right. A is better because it tells you if you want to maintain balance, you need to keep moving. You need to keep moving. You need to keep upgrading. So A tries to tell you the solution as well. So it is more comprehensive. That is why for question number 14, answer is A. Number 15, the CEO of a technology company was thinking of the following policies. There are four policies mentioned. If a CEO were to consult the author of the passage, which of the above policies will the CEO will the author recommend? Either you regularly train and retrain your people, or if that is not possible, then you hire new competent employees and you fire the old incompetent employees. Because this change is going to be permanent now. So yes, 3 or 4. Either you do 3 or you do 4. Otherwise, this company is not going to survive. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody has any doubt till now? Till question number 15, anyone has any doubt? Okay, now coming to the next passage, question number 16 to 17. Question number 16 to 17, the person who's writing this passage says, what I do, writing is both my vocation and my avocation. That's all I do. So the only thing that I do is that I write. It is my work and it is my hobby. Avocation matlab hobby hota hai and vocation is your work. So the only thing I do is that I write. You may wonder why I should write a genealogy. You may wonder why I'm talking about my ancestry. Genealogy is ancestry. Why I'm talking about this? Because Because my story is very interesting and I am a mystery. I am a mystery. That is why I'm writing about myself. But the sad thing is that I'm taken for granted by those who use me as if I were a mere incident and without any background. So when you take me for granted, this actually shows your supercilious attitude. Supercilious means arrogant. You are being arrogant. You are being arrogant if you relegate me to the level of the commonplace. Relegate means you put me in an inferior position. You demote me. You are being arrogant if you believe that I am a very common thing. If you believe I'm a very common thing, then this is a grievous error. It's a grievous error. Okay? What is the error? The error is that we humans don't understand that we are perishing for want of wonder and not for want of wonders. It's not that wonderful things are not present. No, wonderful things are present. But the question is, are you and surprised? Do you get excited when you see wonderful things? So there is a want of wonder. Want of wonder means you are lacking enthusiasm. Human beings are lacking enthusiasm. It's not that it is not that wonderful things are absent. No, wonderful things are there. But human beings they are lacking the enthusiasm to appreciate wonderful things. So he tells you, even though I'm simple, I merit your wonder and awe. You should be, enthusiastic about me, even though I'm simple, and I'll prove it to you. Okay? Because I if you understand the miraculousness that I symbolize, you can help save the freedom mankind is so unhappily losing. So in a sense, I am the person who indirectly provides you freedom. I have a profound lesson to teach. And I can teach this lesson better than an automobile or an airplane or a mechanical dishwasher. Because why I can teach it better? Because I'm so simple. You can understand me so easily. Then he goes on and he tells you, I am simple. The question is, yes, I'm simple, yet not a single person on the face of this earth knows how to make me. This sounds fantastic, isn't it? Especially when you realize that there are about 1.5 billion of my kind produced in the US each year. So, what are my physical features? Pick me up and look over me. What will you see? You will see there is some wood, there is some lacquer, there is a printed labeling, there is a graphite lead, there is a bit of metal, and an eraser. So, what is this? This is a pencil. This is a pencil. Lacquer. Lacquer is a substance. Lacquer is the, varnish. Varnish होता है ना varnish. Something like varnish. Okay, substance that shines. So it is a pencil. What is it? It is a pencil. So the pencil is saying, I'm so simple. You take me for granted. But this is your error. You should wonder at me because it is me that has done so many things. It is I. So what do you think? I in the passage refers to what? I don't know whether you marked pencil or not initially. Did you understand this passage earlier? Yes, it is a pencil. Okay, good. Number 17. A supercilious attitude in this passage implies what? Supercilious attitude means you have arrogance of treating all simple things as trivial. Absolutely. Number 17. Answer is D. Okay. Now coming to question 18 to 20, which is based on this passage. Now, he tells you that there are some psychologists and sociologists who believe that psychopathy can be an asset in business and politics. Okay? But the author says that no, this is not true. This is not true. Psychopathy cannot be an asset. Okay? Please understand that if you actually look, then a psychopath who is successful is probably the exception. Most of the psychopaths are not successful. That means psychopathy is not an asset. Why? Because psychopaths have certain deficits. What are the deficits? Psychopaths are markedly insensitive to the expression of fear. This is the deficit. They don't have fear. They don't express fear. They don't understand fear. Normal people recognize fear and treat it as a distress cue. But psychopaths have problems seeing it, let alone responding to it appropriately. Psychopaths don't even understand fear. So how will they respond to fear? This is one very big deficit in a psychopath. And there are other deficits as well. There are other deficits also. What are these other deficits? That there is an overall lack of moral sentiments. That means psychopaths lack the regard for others. And this is what leads to the psychopath's downfall. Because they lack a regard for others, this is what leads to the downfall of the psychopath. Now, what happens to normal people? We people who are non-psychopaths, what we do? We always assess each other. We always look for kindness and shame and the like. And we use this information to decide whom to trust, whom to affiliate with. But when you look at the psychopath को कोई feeling तो होता नहीं है. Psychopath has to pretend to be one of us. He does not have the feelings that we have. That is why he has to pretend. But please understand, pretending is very difficult. It is very hard to force yourself to comply with moral rules just through a rational appreciation of what you expected to do. I mean, that is not your true self. Psychopaths don't have emotions and feelings, and they're just pretending. So, for how long can you pretend? If you feel like strangling the cat, it is going to be a struggle for you to hold back just because you know it has been frowned upon. So how long are you going to hold on? Okay, and because psychopaths, they do not have feelings of shame and guilt. That is why psychopaths succumb to bad impulses. They do terrible things out of malice, greed, and boredom. And sooner or later, they will get caught. So psychopaths can be successful in the short term, but in the long term, they fail. They fail in the long term and they end up in prison or sometimes worse. So, what separates psychopaths from the rest of us? So, there are many things that he talked about, but the core thing that separates normal human beings from psychopaths is indifference towards the suffering of other people. Psychopaths lack compassion. This is the core thing which separates normal human beings from psychopaths. Psychopaths में कोई compassion ही नहीं होता. So to understand how compassion works for us normal people, how compassion works for normal people, we will need to distinguish it from empathy. Compassion and empathy are not the same. Even though people use them interchangeably, but they are not the same. Because when you care about a person, that is compassion. And when you put yourself in other person's shoes, that is empathy. So caring about a person is compassion, and putting yourself in another person's shoes is empathy. Now the author says that I don't believe that a capacity such as empathy exists as a freak biological accident. Empathy is not something that is an accident. Empathy is something that has been or that has evolved in us as a normal part of evolution. It is not something that has come accidentally to us. It is most likely a function. Okay, it has a function. Why has evolution given human beings empathy? It has not come to us by accident. Evolution has given us empathy because empathy has a function. It motivates us to care about others. Empathy exists to motivate compassion and altruism. If we did not have empathy, then probably we would not have compassion. Even though empathy motivates compassion, still the link between empathy and compassion is more nuanced than many people believe. Okay, why he's saying this? He's saying you. I mean, he's telling all this because he says although empathy can be automatic and it can be unconscious. For example, a person is crying, it can affect your mood, even if you're not aware about this. Even though empathy can be automatic, most of the times we often choose whether to empathize with another person or not. Okay? Remember. So it can be automatic, but most of the times, whether we want to empathize or not, that is based on a choice. It is the product of your moral choice. It is not the cause of it. So you choose whether you want to empathize or you don't want to empathize. Empathy is also influenced by what one thinks about the other person. Empathy is also influenced by what you think about the other person. Okay. Second, empathy is not needed to motivate compassion. If you want to care about somebody, you don't necessarily have to put yourself in that person's shoes. He gives you an example. Okay, he tells you if a child has been frightened by a barking dog and is howling in terror, so you will show compassion. You will not also start howling in terror with her. That because the child is howling in terror, you don't put yourself in the child's shoes and start howling in terror. Empathy तो नहीं दिखाते हो ना, but you comfort that child, you protect that child, you are showing compassion, you show compassion. And third, just as you can have compassion without empathy, so you can have empathy without compassion also. You might feel the person's pain, you might wish to stop feeling it, but you can choose to ignore the problem. You can choose to distance yourself from that person instead of elevating his or her suffering. For example, when you come across a beggar, you actually feel the pain of the beggar. So, अगर feel कर रहे हो तो empathy है ना? It is empathy. You feel that oh, life is terrible, but you take no action. You take no action. You don't help. So there is no compassion. You show no compassion even though there is empathy. So he tells you, good people will sometimes turn away when they are faced with depictions of fear and suffering in faraway lands, or even when they are passing a homeless person on a city street. So they may empathize with that person, but they will not show any compassion. So you can have empathy without compassion, you can have compassion without empathy. Empathy is not necessarily automatic. Empathy depends on your moral choice. These are the things which he is trying to say. Anything you did not understand, please ask. Anything that requires clarification. In short, I have tried to explain this to you. Based on this, he's asking you question number 8. The core deficit of psychopaths affects their long-term success because why does it affect the long-term success? Because they simply cannot suppress their true feelings. Their true feelings is that they lack compassion. They cannot hide their lack of compassion for long. How long can they pretend? Somewhere down the line, they are going to get caught. Okay. So I think answer for this question should be C. If this is clear, let's move to question number 19. Question number 19. Which of the following options is correct according to the author? What is correct? I think A. Yes, has not come to us as an accident. Compassion exists for a reason. Empathy is a chance event. We don't know. He does not believe. Empathy is the cause of moral product. No. Moral choice. No. Empathy and compassion. These are feelings which exist for a reason. I think this is the best one. Still, caring for others is a psychopathy. No. Long-term success in business is a freak accident. No. So if you analyze all these options, B to E, they don't make sense. Only answer that is possible is A. Question number 20. A student approached the faculty pleading to increase his marks because failure in one more subject will result in the student having to leave the program. The faculty said, I am sorry, but I cannot change your grades as it would be unfair to others. Okay? In the given circumstance, which of the following best describes the faculty? Now, because the faculty is not taking any action, so compassion to nahi hai. He does not care about this particular student. So there is no compassion. But he is putting himself in the shoes of other students for whom it is going to be unfair. So yes, number D, he is displaying empathy, but he is not displaying compassion. Absolutely. Number D is the answer for question number 20. Did you understand? Anybody has any doubt, please ask. Okay, good. Now we are left with, I think, the last passage from question number 21 to question number 24. Now over here, he tells you, in every age there are some contradictions. In every age. A few decades back, we accepted Marx and we also accepted Freud together. Today also there is a similar trouble. There is a similar trouble over the question whether there is or there is not something called human nature. So is there something called human nature? That is the contradiction. Some people say yes, some people say no. He tells you that, see, on the one hand, there has been an explosion of animal behavior studies. We are studying a lot of animal behavior, and we are making comparisons between animals and men. People use these evidence from animals to decide whether man is naturally aggressive or naturally territorial. That means people are using animal studies to make judgments about human beings. Do human beings have instinct? Are they naturally aggressive or naturally territorial? Just like animals, do human beings have a human nature? So this is what is happening on the one hand. On the other hand, there are many people who believe, who have the blank paper view, who hold the blank paper view. What is the blank paper view? The blank paper view is that, listen, man is a creature who is without any instincts. Man का कोई instincts नहीं होता है. So all the existentialist philosophers, they hold the blank paper view. Okay? What they believe is that because man has no instincts, all comparison with animals is irrelevant. Now, why do they believe man is without instincts? They believe that when human beings are born, we are a clean slate. We are a clean slate. Okay, we are a clean slate according to blank paper view. After that, you are, because you are a clean slate, then your culture tells you what to do and what not to do. You are the product of your culture. So when you start in life, you are infinitely plastic. That is, throughout your life, you are plastic. You keep changing, you keep adapting, and you are formed completely by the society in which you grow up. Okay? Okay? So all these things like forming families, fearing the dark, jumping at the sight of a spider, these are not instincts. These are just results of your conditioning. Okay? These are just results of your conditioning. Now, if you look at existentialism, it seems that existentialism is something very different from the blank paper view. Existentialism is different from the blank paper view because existentialists, they assert man's freedom. They say that human beings are free. Human beings are responsible for their actions. Human beings are free. And they will not let him call himself a product of anything. Okay? So you cannot say that, okay, you have been limited by your circumstances. According to existentialism, human beings are always free. So this seems to be contrary to the blank paper view. But If you look at the commonalities between the blank paper view and existentialism, you will find that existentialism also denies that human has a nature. Because if man had nature, his freedom would not be complete. So you don't have any nature. You can do whatever you want to do. So that is why an existentialist like Sartre said, listen, there is no human nature. Man, first of all, exists. That means he comes to this world, he encounters himself, he understands himself, he surges up in the world, and then he defines himself. Okay? So just like a blank paper view, existentialism also they even though it seems that they're talking about different things, but both these views say that no human beings don't have any nature. So for existentialism also there is only the human condition, and which is what happens to man and not what he is born like. If you are afraid of the dark, it is because you choose to be cowards. If you care more for your own children than other people's, it is because you choose to be partial. It is not an instinct. So we must never talk about human nature or human instincts. कोई human nature, human instincts नहीं होता है. Okay? This is what the blank paper view says, and this is what the existentialist view also says. Now, this implicit moral notion is still very influential. That means this view is held by many people. This view is held by many people. And in fact, if you look at, sometimes there are some libertarians also. Now, what the author says that for myself, I will speak of this theory not as an existentialist, but as a libertarian. So who's a libertarian? Libertarian is somebody who holds that in thinking liberty is important. Okay, it is not just important. Thinking is supremely important, and I believe that our having a nature will infringe it. So, what is the difference between existentialist and a libertarian? Existentialist believes that human beings don't have a nature. Libertarian believes that human beings don't have a nature, and in fact, if they have a nature, it is actually absolutely wrong. It's absolutely important that human beings don't have an instinct. So, in a sense, libertarians, what they do is that they take it for they extend they extend the views of the existentialists. For existentialists, just say that human beings don't have nature. Libertarians say that it is absolutely important that human beings don't have nature. Okay, this is what he's trying to say. So he tells you, philosophers have not yet made much use of informed comparison with other species as a help in understanding of man. So we have not been able to understand man. Okay, so there are so many reasons. One reason is that there's a fear of fatalism. We are scared of fate. Another is that terms such as instinct and human nature, they have been misused in the past. And third is the absurdity of some ethological propaganda. So some ethological means study of animal behavior. So when you study animal behavior, some of the studies are absurd. In the last paragraph, the author is expressing his dissatisfaction about the studies. So he says that we have not made use of comparisons with other species. So our studies have not been very good. That is what he's trying to say. Based on this, question number 21, a business school led by an existentialist director wanted to decide on admission policy for its executive MBA program, which requires candidates to possess minimum 5 years of managerial experience. With respect to the selection process, which of the following statements will be closest to the director's belief? What do you think? Because the director is an existentialist director, I think E is the answer. He will focus more on the recent work experience and contribution to the organization. He believes it should be given the highest weightage. Why? Because he believes that human beings are plastic. They are plastic means they keep changing. So whatever happened in 10th and 12th, that happened way back in your engineering college in previous examinations, that happened earlier. So it because things have changed a lot, it's better to focus on the recent work that you have done. That is why for question number 21, answer is E. Okay. 22 is easy. Which of the following statements will the author agree? Has to be A. Existentialism can be extended to libertarianism. So A is going to be the answer. Okay. Existentialism can be extended to libertarianism. Number B is not right. Existentialism and libertarianism are the same. Though they are not the same, they are not the same. Libertarianism takes it to another extreme. Okay, libertarianism takes it to another extreme. Number C, existentialism encompasses libertarianism. Quite the opposite. Libertarianism encompasses existentialism. If libertarianism is an extension, that means it includes existentialism also. Okay, so number C is not going to be the answer. Okay, okay. Now coming to 23, who among the following, as stated in the third paragraph, would the author be the most sympathetic to? So author believes that people or architect and physicists, they have nothing to do with study of animal behavior. Now, PETA activists and Save the Tiger activists, they will hinder study of animal behavior. So they are not, he's not going to be sympathetic to them. He wants to study human behavior. So I think zoologists, they are the people who will help him in his study. Okay? Did you understand? And finally, which sentence in the passage distances man from nature the most? I think the first sentence of the second paragraph, because the first sentence of the second paragraph, what does it do? This man is entirely the product of his culture. So man has nothing to do with nature. Man has nothing to do with nature. Okay, this is the sentence which most distances a man from nature. Did you understand? Why answer for question number 24 is B? Okay. So now please take a look at all the questions. Tell me if there's anything you did not understand, anything that requires clarification, please ask. Today, uh, in the evening, we will have decision making session, same time. And tomorrow morning, you have quant session. You must be aware. Okay. So that's it for today.
Music.